OpenAI just spent $250 million on something they insist doesn't exist. A job disruption fund, not a skills fund, not an opportunity fund. Disruption. The same company whose CEO testified before Congress that AI creates more jobs than it eliminates just allocated $250 million to clean up the jobs it's about to eliminate. This isn't speculation. It's their own announcement. They're not denying displacement anymore. They're pricing it. And the number they landed on tells you exactly how many workers they expect to make obsolete in the next 36 months. The math is brutal, and it's already started. This matters because corporate admissions create legal precedent. When a company publicly allocates capital to mitigate a problem, they're admitting the problem exists. Tobacco companies did this. Opioid manufacturers did this. Now OpenAI is doing it. And once one AI company admits their technology displaces workers at scale, every AI company becomes vulnerable to the same liability claims. If you work in customer service, data entry, basic coding, content creation, or any role that involves processing information and generating output, this fund exists because your job is on the list. Not maybe, not someday. The allocation happened because the displacement modeling is already complete. They know which roles vanish first, they know the timeline, and they've calculated the cost of not having this fund in place when the lawsuits start. This isn't charity, it's liability insurance, and the payout structure tells you exactly who they think will sue first. Let's follow the money. $250 million over 3 years. That breaks down to roughly $83 million per year. OpenAI's revenue last year crossed $2 billion, so they're allocating 4% of revenue to this fund. That's not a rounding error. That's a material expense line. Now look at where it actually goes. The fund isn't direct cash payments to displaced workers. It's grants to nonprofit organizations and educational institutions that run retraining programs. Translation: the money goes to intermediaries, not individuals. The largest grants so far went to organizations in 3 categories: coding boot camps, community colleges offering certificate programs, and nonprofits focused on quote-unquote workforce transitions. The average grant size is between $2 and $5 million. That means this fund will support somewhere between 50 and 125 organizations over 3 years. Sounds generous until you realize the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects AI-driven displacement will affect 17 million U.S. workers by 2027. 250 million divided by 17 million is $14.70 per displaced worker. That's not retraining. That's a press release. But here's what the fund actually buys OpenAI: legal cover. In product liability law, there's a concept called failure to warn. If you sell a product that causes harm and you didn't warn users or take reasonable steps to mitigate that harm, you're liable. OpenAI isn't stupid. They've seen the tobacco playbook. They've seen the opioid playbook. The moment a laid-off customer service rep files a class action claiming OpenAI's models directly cause job loss at scale, the company needs to point to concrete mitigation efforts. This fund is that evidence. It's not designed to actually retrain 17 million people. It's designed to survive summary judgment in a liability case. The structure proves it. The fund has a formal application process, detailed reporting requirements, third-party audits, all the bureaucratic apparatus you'd need to demonstrate, quote, good faith effort, unquote, in front of a judge. And the timing is no accident. OpenAI launched this fund the same quarter their enterprise adoption metrics crossed the threshold where job displacement becomes statistically measurable. Companies don't preemptively allocate 9 figures to hypothetical problems. They do it when their lawyers tell them the risk is real and imminent. The fund is an admission. They know displacement is coming. They know the scale, and they're buying their defense before the first lawsuit drops. Now here's the part that should worry every other AI company. OpenAI just set a precedent. If the market leader allocates 4% of revenue to a disruption fund, regulators now have a benchmark. The EU AI Act already includes provisions for algorithmic impact assessments. The U.S. doesn't have federal legislation yet, but 17 states have active bills that include mandatory displacement mitigation language, and those bills now have a dollar figure to work with. 4% of AI revenue, that's the number legislators will use. Anthropic makes $800 million. 4% is $32 million. Google's AI revenue is north of 30 billion. 4% is 1.2 billion. Microsoft's AI run rate is approaching 20 billion. 4% is 800 million. OpenAI just created a tax, and every AI company will either pay it voluntarily as a fund or they'll pay it involuntarily as regulation. There's no third option anymore. The admission is public, the benchmark is set, and the regulatory agencies that have been waiting for political cover to act just got it. The fund isn't just legal protection for OpenAI. It's the trigger for an industry-wide reckoning. And the companies that don't launch their own funds in the next 6 months will be the ones regulators make examples of. So what does this mean for you? If you're in a displacement risk role, the fund's existence is confirmation you should accelerate your exit plan. The retraining programs at funds won't scale fast enough or pay enough to matter. You're better off using the next 12 months to build adjacent skills or pivot industries entirely before the labor market floods. If you're an investor, watch which AI companies announce similar funds in Q2. The ones that don't are either too small to matter or too arrogant to survive the regulatory wave. Either way, bad bet. And if you're a policy person, the 4% number is your wedge. It's an industry-set standard that came from the market, not from activists. That makes it politically defensible and economically grounded. The fight isn't whether AI companies should fund displacement mitigation anymore. The fight is whether 4% is enough. And my guess is it's not. Because 17 million workers at $14 each means the real number should be closer to 15% of revenue. But we'll get there. One lawsuit at a time. We synthesized OpenAI's CEO announcement alongside their grant disclosure documents using 11 labs to extract the specific contradictions between public messaging and actual capital allocation. You can do the same with any earnings call or corporate filing. Links in the description if you want to pull the same data yourself. Next video breaks down why Anthropic's constitutional AI isn't about safety at all. It's about copyright liability, and the legal bills are already in the hundreds of millions. That one drops Thursday.